Welcome to the Lightworker Podcast. I am your host, Natalie Ubl Grant. I am a lightworker, a meditation facilitator, Reiki master, and a health and wellness enthusiast who thrives on helping people. Connection is my superpower, and I just love bringing people to a space where transformation can occur. Are you looking for information on being a lightworker? Are you a lightworker and just love collecting knowledge from other lightworkers? Hello everyone. Welcome to the Lightworker Podcast. Today I wanted to discuss criticism. So when you have a listen to this, I'm going to speak from my perspective and what I feel and think about criticism, and I'm just going to allow my channel to bring through just a discussion on it, The observations. All right, so what we see in the world now is that there are a lot of situations where we as human beings criticize the way other people do things, criticize the way other people say things, and criticize the way other people are. We seem to have a lot of opinions about how other people do things, how they act, how they behave, how they talk, pretty much anything really. Maybe even what they wear, or even sometimes just the tiniest things. There's just a criticism about it. And what I observe in that space is when we're doing that, we're not actually present with ourselves and with what is true and alive within us when we're delivering that criticism. And it's funny how we do it. It's sort of, we don't even realize it's on autopilot. It's like a deflection that happens. And we see it a lot in relationship. I work with a lot of people who are in situations where they can constantly feel criticized by their partner. I have been in a situation where my partner feels constantly criticized by me, and I him. And it's funny because it's not until you pause and reflect on any given situation and you actually analyze, why am I criticizing this person? What is it about what they're doing that I actually don't like? What is it about the situation that is causing something that is creating a discomfort in me? And I put to you that the way that the world is at the moment, if we continue down the path of criticizing each other and judging each other constantly, we're going to be constantly mystified as to why we don't see the change around us that we're really wanting to have. And it's a funny thing because all I want is to live a peaceful life. What do you want? Do you want to live a peaceful life? I'd like to live a fun life. I'd like to live an enjoyable, adventurous life. I'd like to live in a situation where I can actually just say what is happening for me and how I feel without the people around me interpreting what they think I'm saying as something other than what I've said. It'd be nice if people would just hear the words that are being spoken instead of hearing the words and then assuming that they know, or assuming that what I'm saying isn't what I'm really saying. Have you ever been in that situation where you've said something and then the person that you're communicating with goes off on a completely different tangent from what you've said, or they actually directly say that you're criticizing them? And it's funny because when you reflect on the words that you've actually just said, sometimes what you've said was not actually a criticism to the person, but they have interpreted what you've said as a criticism. It's actually freaking complex. Like, honestly, some of the situations that people are in, and it's funny because today I was working with one of my mentoring clients. Mentoring is something that I do for people. I do 3-month containers, and it's a great space where people can walk with me and actually do the work, actually decide to do some sessions and to get to the bottom of karma, the karma that you've come here to clean up and clear in your own physical body, and to change the patterns of behavior that have been going on in your life. Because each time we change, our surroundings change. But this criticism thing is so interesting. And when I was on this voicey with my client, I actually was talking about, and I was hearing what I was saying as I was talking. I was talking about a situation where this criticism sort of came up. And for me, this was a while ago, and it's taken me a long time to be able to really hone into how can I be effective in these situations when criticism is either being pointed toward me or when I'm actually potentially criticizing somebody else, but it's not my intention to do that. So it's actually interesting to sit down and really reflect on, like, what is actually happening in this moment, because it's so easy when we have those moments, the niggles that come up, the things where we're wanting someone else to change so that we can feel better, or the way we inquire, instead of it coming across as being caring and kind, it comes across as a criticism. So what is going on in those situations when things aren't going the way that you actually wanted them to go? So I was reflecting, like I said, I was doing a voicey with my client, and I was recalling a time where my partner, husband, actually in the morning one day got up and actually said to me, point blank, looked me in the eye, "You're giving off a vibe," and he used a swear word, and I won't say it because I don't want to be kicked off YouTube. But he said, "You're giving a beep vibe." And it was really interesting because in that moment I paused instead of doing what I normally would do. And it was so interesting to observe what was happening in my internal space immediately after that statement was made and delivered towards me. So my first, you're listening to the options in the thought field that come in when you pause. So when I pause, I actually actively use my Reiki and I ground, connect, and protect. When I ground, connect, and protect, I actually get into that situation where I can observe my reality. So I've heard my partner say something, and then I've got the rebuttal instantly ready to go, and that self-preservation mode kicks in. So my survival instinct, so I go into fight or flight. And I paused and I observed that part of me wants to say, "How dare you speak to me that way? Can't you be respectful? Isn't there a different way that you could ask that?" You get the idea. It's that kind of flow. So then I watch this other part of me actually pause and say, "Well, hey, Nat, is everything okay? What kind of vibe are you giving off?" And then there's another part of me that goes, "I actually don't know. I don't know. Am I giving a vibe off? I actually have no idea in this moment because I'm obviously not present." So I've paused. And then instead of even saying anything, I'm taking a moment for myself and just breathing and observing what is going on in my internal space. What am I feeling? What kind of vibe am I giving off? And then he comes back at me with more. Well, what's wrong with you? And again, I've got that part of me that wants to, arc up and protect and save, and stop this person from being what came across as aggressive. And then there's the other part of me saying, come on, what is it? What is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. So I just said that, I don't know. And that was an interesting response, because normally I know what's going on, or I will deflect and be okay and not actually check to see if I am or I'm not. So it's really interesting to then sit with that and go, okay, well, what is going on in your internal space? So I sat with that, and what was going on with my internal space was overwhelm. So I'm paused and I've realized, because I've looked at, well, what is going on? What is happening for me? Why is the vibe that way? And what is happening in my experience right now? And then the list came of all the things that I've got to do. I'm a mum. I organise the entire house just like most women do. And that's not to discredit men that do that as well. It's just it tends to be something that a woman does. We think of everything, how many toilet rolls are sitting in the toilet, all the way through to who needs what in their lunchbox and what's going to happen, what bills need to be paid, what's happening with, organisations for after school, and just honestly, the list is unbelievable. And I also work. So what clients am I going to see, and who do I have to take where, and how do I have to fit that in? And then I've got to do shopping, and then we've got people coming over for dinner. And I just started prattling off what was actually happening in my experience. So I asked my partner, do you want to know? See, this is one of the things that potentially might help people. I know that it's helped me to actually put an offer out before I start verbally vomiting all of the things. So I actually just say, would you like to know what's going on for me? And the response was, well, I asked you, didn't I? So I thought to myself, no, I'm going to actually say. So, but the trick is to keep what you're saying focused only on what is true and alive for you. And that's actually quite difficult, because you've got that part of you that's in protection mode that doesn't want to be spoken to in an aggressive way, that doesn't want to have to justify themselves, right? But then there's this other part of you that actually has no idea what's actually going on, because you're just in autopilot and your body is running the show, but you're not even there to really know what's going on. So if you're giving off some sort of a vibe and people are critical of that, we are the last person to realize, usually, the ones that are giving the vibe off. And none of us are immune. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. Everyone does this at some point throughout their life or day, right? It's probably day more truthfully. So it's really interesting to give yourself an opportunity to really be with yourself and actually see how critical we are of ourselves. So no wonder we're critical of other people, because we're wired to be horrible to ourselves and horrible to other people, to judge and criticize ourselves and judge and criticize other people. And then we're mystified as to why we can't seem to create the reality that we really want, why we keep having these people ask you in an aggressive way, what's wrong with you? It's actually so interesting to be able to observe what the problem is, because we can't fix things if we don't actually know what our problem is, right? Now, every one of us has problems, okay? It doesn't matter who you are, everyone's got problems. It's a varying scale of what those things are. They're things that we would like to change or do something differently. And if we're not willing to change, it's interesting, because your reality will keep bringing you the lesson to change. So you'll sit there and it'll be 10 people down that are all asking you, why are you giving off such an aggressive vibe? Why are you upset? What's wrong with you? And then at the end of it, you'll be like, there's nothing wrong with me. And then you realize, actually, there is something. What is this? I'm angry. Why am I angry? Because all these people have asked me what's wrong with me and there's nothing wrong with me. But is there? Have you checked? Did you ask? And it's interesting because I probably wasn't asking enough. Do you ask enough? Are you okay? Is everything okay in your internal space? Do you even know how you feel or what you need? I mean, even just now, check in. Just get yourself in the present moment. Take a big breath. You're hearing me speak. Thank you for hearing me speak. But let's check in with you. Just feel yourself in this moment. Just feel the breath go in and go out. And then scan your body. And then pay attention to your thoughts. Are your thoughts kind to you? Are your thoughts telling you that someone else is doing something that you don't like? Are your thoughts saying this person doesn't listen to me? They're being aggressive? You know, what is the statements that you're hearing in your head constantly? Become aware of it, because if you aren't aware of it, you can't change it. And when people say, I don't have anything going on up there, they haven't found the now moment. They haven't paused long enough to really observe what is actually going on for themselves. So when I was in that situation and I asked my partner, are you willing to hear it? I just then started to list all the things that were in my thoughts. I'm thinking of this. I've got to do that. I've got to take the kids here. I've got to come back and I've got to work there. And then I've got to fit in shopping there. And then I've got to come back and work again. And then I've got to organize and prep for dinner. And then I've also got to pay this bill, go and pick that up. And honestly, I got most of the way through the list and I burst into tears. And then I just said, and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm really, really sad because I'm too scared to ask for help because I feel like I'm always being judged and criticized. And it's too much for one person to handle. And now I can't stop crying because I'm so upset. And my feelings are not your responsibility. But thank you for asking so that then I'm able to actually share with you the truth about what's happening inside of me. And I didn't even know. When he first asked me, you're giving off a F-off vibe, I didn't know that I was. And that is really interesting. How often do you walk around and you're not sure how you feel? So now you've checked in, how do you feel in this moment? And if you say fine, that's good, but is it true? Am I fine? Ask the question. And if you're not fine, take a moment to figure out what it is that you need so that you can really feel calm and relaxed. And maybe calm and relaxed is not necessarily what you want to be feeling. You want to be happy. You want to be joyful. You want to get out and have some fun. So what do you need to do that will bring more fun? I have to sneeze. Excuse me. So, criticism. It has to stop with us. It has to stop with the criticizing ourselves. And then when we can figure out what's going on in our internal experience, instead of asking someone else to change so that we can feel better, reflect on the actual words that they're saying to you, not what you think they're saying. So the change comes with us, comes from us. To change criticism, we have to stop criticizing ourselves. We've got to become aware of what's going on in our internal world, of what we're giving permission to when the thoughts come in. And do we want to continue doing things the way that things have been done, or do we want to change it? I know for me, I want to change it. I am so done with letting my autopilot kick in and then having outcomes that are not what I want. Are you? Are you sick of it? So what if we made a pact, right, where a criticism comes in, and instead of getting offended and upset and letting our fight or flight response take over, what if we ask a question just to get the highlight off us? We just ask a question. So if I use the example we've used here, when my partner said to me, I'm giving off an F off vibe. If I asked, am I? Is that what's happening? Are you picking up on that? It'll give me a minute to breathe. Yeah? Just breathe. I could change the whole thing by saying, well, how are you feeling? But I know for me, I feel better when I can kind of self-reflect and go, okay, what is actually happening for me? Is it true? Is what they're saying to me true? Am I actually giving off some sort of vibe and I'm unaware of it? And in that situation I was. And it wasn't, it was just what the energy that they were picking up on that I needed to become aware of. So he was trying to, in his own unique way, make me aware of there's something going on, you know. And as we get better at this, we are going to change. We're going to become different people. The world will change when the focus is on us sharing what is true and alive in us, rather than pointing the finger and trying to get other people to change so we can feel better. Let's take personal responsibility now. Let's really sit down and start working out what it is we need. Now, in some situations, it will be to say, stop speaking to me like this. You know, have a little respect. But if you don't actually know what's going on inside of you, you end up just fighting and arguing about something that is completely off topic. So we've got to get clear on what's going on inside our own worlds first. So when somebody delivers a criticism, pause, breathe, and find out what is going on. Why would this person criticize me? Why would they deliver some sort of message in this way? Now, after you've done that, then you give yourself a chance to slow down the fight or flight response, and then you'll give yourself the opportunity to respond in an appropriate way. Now, those appropriate ways will be varied, like so many different things. In the situation for me, it was about me actually sharing my truth and asking for help because I actually needed help. And I didn't even know I needed help. And that's the weird thing, right? But I've been in lots and lots of scenarios over the years where I haven't been aware of what's going on in me. I've just let my autopilot take over, and then I've been upset at myself later, judging and criticizing myself for yelling or having an angry outburst or doing something that was it was out of character and it wasn't how I wanted to behave as a human being. So I'm done with behaving like a child. I don't know about you, but are you? I'm sick of chucking tanties. And what I've found is that the way to stop doing that is to become aware of what's going on in us. Now, that's not to excuse bad behavior from people that are criticizing us and delivering horrible messages to us. You know, your personal safety is always important, and sometimes pausing and actually saying to yourself, get out of here, you need to leave, and listening to that is a good idea. But say in your experience, and I've had this happen, right? Something's happened, you're having an argument with a partner, and I have the voice in my head say, pick the knife up and stab them. Have you ever had that? Then I've got the other part of me saying, oh my God, what kind of person would have that thought? And then you've got just this barrage of thoughts in your head all of a sudden that are telling you to do evil things, telling you not to do evil things. And it's so loud and so noisy, again, you go into overwhelm. And in those moments, often, the people around you could be being disrespectful, right? But you actually aren't functioning on full cylinders because you don't even know what's going on for you. We've got to get a handle of what's going on inside our own internal worlds, and we need to do it stat. Because the truth is seen now, right? There is some evil going on out there. And we've got to deal with how we feel about that. We've got to deal with what's bubbling up in us around some of this stuff. We're seeing that the governments are not doing things that we feel are appropriate, so we're judging them, right? And the world is at war and we're judging them, we're picking sides instead of figuring out what's happening in our own backyards, what's happening in our own bodies, and helping our bodies to be comfortable, So today I want you to ponder on this. And I hope that sharing and just talking about this might be something that will trigger curiosity in you. It's a process being a human, and to figure out what are the things that we are doing that contribute to our situations. What are we not doing that we need to be doing that are contributing to the situations? And why does being criticized hurt so much or upset us so much? My exploration of that has been because we're ignoring why it comes up in the first place. And it's time to get really close with it and find out why do the feelings, why do we go into fight or flight? Why do we get upset? What is actually going on in our internal experience? Meditation really helps. And if you're struggling to figure out what it is, having a Reiki session can really help. Past life regression, emotional liberation, and maybe something to support you on that journey might help. For me, it helped immensely. I have sessions regularly still. When I first had my awakening, I did a lot of work because I was ready to hack this, because every time I did work, my reality would change. Every time I did work and got to know myself better, I felt better. I became more calm, more relaxed, less anxious. The anger dissipated a lot more quickly, and I was able to regulate when criticism and judgment was delivered to me. Now whenever that happens, I actually get excited because it's like, ooh, an opportunity to see what's going on, right? And I watch a lot of people now that when I'm speaking, I can see that they've interpreted what I've said inside their mind, and often they are expressing in a way that I'm unsure whether they've actually even heard what I said, so I will check in with them because they've heard what I've said come across as a criticism or a judgment, and I've had to then explain this is not my intention. So communication is the key, guys, and I hope that we can figure out how to communicate more clearly, more concisely, and in a way that is sharing how we're feeling and what we need without making other people wrong. To figure out what's going on in our internal space before we proceed, right? To see that perhaps we are judging other people and maybe it's time to stop. Maybe that judgment is more about an insecurity that we have and we really need to figure out why we've got that insecurity. So play around with that, all right? This month, the focus is going to be on turning the torch back on ourselves. We need to figure out how to do life differently than how we've been doing it. Our energy and attention feeds and fuels the narratives that are put in front of us. When we have a powerful emotion behind something that is given to us, we give it energy. So we've got to figure out where we're giving our energy. And my suggestion for this month is give your energy to yourself. Work to make your own life more peaceful amongst the chaos. Work to give yourself a break in the mind space and be kind to you. Do what you need. Say no when you don't want to do something. Impart a boundary when you can feel other people are encroaching on your space. It's okay to say, I need 5 minutes to figure out what's going on for me before I say anything. We've got to tend to our own garden first. When we are clear about what's going on for us, that's when things really change. So if you need help with that, get in touch. I'd love to work with you. There are many different ways we can work together. And otherwise, have a wonderful month. If you enjoy this podcast, remember to like and subscribe and share it with someone that you think would benefit from this. Follow us on Spotify and all the podcasting apps that you may listen to your favorite podcasts through. The more we share these podcasts, the further the messages of the stories of awakening are spread. It's happening all over the world now. People are awakening, and it's an exciting time to be alive.
The content found within these podcasts are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Nothing on this website is intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any physical or medical conditions. If you have any physical or medical conditions, you should seek the advice of your medical professional immediately. These podcasts have a meditative effect, so please never drive a vehicle while listening to Guided Meditation Podcast.